Welcome to Treasure Coast Community Health, with 7 locations to serve you better. We have a dedicated staff. And now, here's your host, CEO Vicki Soule.
Well, hello there, and welcome to Community Conversations. You know, every week we look for things that we think will be of interest to you, your friends, your family, a little tidbit of health information, because Treasure Coast Community Health prides itself on sharing information that's good for you as a primary health care home. Now, what does that mean? That means that we try to take care of everything about your health, whether you are a relatively healthy person or have a chronic care condition like high blood pressure or diabetes, and lots of people in between, because nobody is cookie cutter the same in terms of their needs. So today we have a special guest. Colleen has been with me before. She is a diabetic nurse educator as well as an RN. And we were talking about how COVID has affected us and all of our health. I made some crack about the COVID-15, which is why I'm wearing a jacket. And she said, well, it's not your fault. It's that darn cortisol in action. So I said, well, explain more, and let's do it on air so we can share this conversation.
Yes, but I loved, and unfortunately, I knew what you meant, Vicki, when you said the COVID-15.
Used to be the freshman 10, which we would peel off because we were young. Right. It's not as easy as you age to handle that weight change.
Right. And it's not only the physical weight that we're putting on right now, it's the emotional, intellectual weight.
That's the truth.
And we know it's well, you and I know it, but it is November is Diabetes Awareness Month.
Particularly for the young people, correct?
Yes, there's a focus this year on helping our youth, because there is an increase in children being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which is not the insulin dependent that we always thought of with children. But now they are being diagnosed with type 2, which means somewhere along the line they were told that they probably had pre-diabetes. So for these children, this year's theme is really for the diabetes awareness is focused on children. And children have suffered greatly through COVID-19.
All of their friends' socialization just went out the window.
And they've had to really endure such drastic changes overnight, and with parents who had to deal with it as well. So it became really very large. Right?
Absolutely. Everything has changed. Everything. Their parents' lives, their lives, school, social activities. Everybody said, let's keep our kids in activities. Well, it's really hard to do if you can't have the activity.
Right.
And so now I hear parents saying, oh, it's those darn video games. Well, what do you want them to do?
Exactly.
Sorry. Not that I'm endorsing it, but we've taken away just about everything else and left them the stress of what's next.
Right. Even though they're resilient, this has been a challenge. And whether you be children or adults, this is a very stressful time. And when we're stressed, our body releases cortisol. It's kind of like that flight or fight hormone. And chronic stress, we'll get into that, but chronic stress means just living with it day in and day out. You just keep those cortisol levels high. So a lot happens then. Your dopamine, your feel-good hormones like serotonin and dopamine, they're suppressed. Okay, I'd like to share with our bodies are like our own pantry and pharmacy.
So true.
Our liver releases glucose to give us that energy during stress, which that energy comes from the glucose, sugar.
The sugars.
That cortisol is like the pharmacy. It's stimulates us so that we can fight
take off if we need to.
Yep. And works with epinephrine, so we feel like we can conquer it. But we weren't meant to stay stressed this long.
Yeah, remember we were only going to have to wear masks and deal with this for a month.
Right.
And it's been a whole lot longer.
It's been a lot longer. So we have elevated cortisol levels. We're seeing, and for anybody with diabetes, I want to just say, or if you're caring,
For someone who is?
For someone who is, or you're living with somebody who is, it's stressful even for them. But now's the time to be kind to yourself. And if you see your blood sugars are out of whack, it may not be just because what you're eating,
or how often we're eating.
How often. We're not even going to go there. But cortisol increases blood glucose.
Yes.
So, and you gotta, and hopefully we'll have time today to talk about some of those little easy interventions.
That would be great.
Do throughout the day.
Yeah, because that's the other thing, is that you just don't feel like you have time to do everything that you have to do, again, because of that fight or flight kind of, I got to do something. I've lost control of everything that I had. A nice routine for the kids, and they're going to school, and I'm going to work, or, I'm retired. Every Tuesday we go out fishing, me and the buddy, Yep. That's all changed. And we're constantly trying to reassemble control, I think, of life as we used to know it, or the new norm, or whatever title you want to put on it.
Right. And we're even worried about toilet paper.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Food prices.
Still, sure.
And the information, the information hasn't been real consistent.
You're being kind.
I am being, well, yes, I am.
And then add the elections on top of that. So at least that's semi-done.
Right. So once we thought something was safe, or we knew not to do this, well, that changed, and we had to stop and reverse it or rethink it, and now it's back.
And justify it.
And justify it. So particularly, we have to lower that stress hormone, cortisol, because what happens is it interferes with our sleep. Stress certainly triggers negative emotions, negative thoughts. Perhaps some people don't eat as much. Some people become stress eaters. And over time, that high cortisol level, high blood sugar levels, they're just known to increase our weight, put the pancreas under strain so that we become insulin resistant.
Oh, not a good thing.
Not a good thing, because remember, cortisol's job is to keep insulin from sucking up the blood glucose energy that we need to go fight.
Yeah.
So, and then I think I also said, then obviously, then it can cause diabetes, and then make it very difficult for what I like to say is, instead of being in control, having more time and range in your blood sugar goals.
And that's really an interesting connection. You're helping me fill in a number of dots or comments that I've heard along the way about how many more people are depressed these days. And, we naturally think about the news stories or the conflicts of opinions and those types of things. Is this ever going to end? But it's not just a mental thing. What you're explaining is that there's some real physiological reasons for that. And if we could help control those, we really could improve our own feeling of antidepressant.
Right.
How's that
positive well-being.
Yes.
And I think right now our well-being is being assaulted.
Yes.
Along with our health. I do know of a few people that have been diligent and became home workout.
That's
freaks. That's
really hard to do.
I don't mean freaks, but you know what I mean. Just into
the type A's.
The type A's that said, "Oh, I got this," and God bless them.
Yeah,
I'm not one of them. I have to say,
most people are not. I'm afraid. Yeah.
Now my son, who's a personal trainer, now he's still running, so I don't think he put anything on, but
yeah,
weight wise. But and he's a calm person, and you could see
the stressors,
the stress.
Yeah, I have heard that before COVID, 1 out of every 5 people said something that made others observe that they might have some sort of mental health thing going on. Now the journals are reporting 2 out of 5. That's a huge increase. And again, I think, as you have said, that it may be more related to cortisol and what's going on in our own little factory. Although when you talk about being our own pantry, you would think then that would keep us out of the refrigerator.
Right. You would think it would,
think.
Right? But remember, we're used to eating.
Yeah.
And with people with diabetes, when their blood sugars are high and they're under stress, that little liver, which is like that food pantry, is going to release glucose. So that's why we need to really cut back and be more mindful that when we're running higher, it's just like no different than if you took, prednisone. We know prednisone shoots blood sugar up. So if you already have all this chronic stress, you are not short on blood glucose. You are not going to starve.
Got to say it again. You are not going to starve.
You're just not going to starve.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a short break for our sponsors. And when we come back, let's talk about simple coping mechanisms then and ways that you know it's making a difference. How's that?
That sounds great.
Good.
10, 9, 8.
Why did the countdown stop? Because it's the countdown to Buzz TV channel 1098, Comcast Xfinity, and it's here. Local content for Sebastian, Vero, and Fort Pierce. Tune in for local info, happenings, and fun, including all the great Planet Vero TV shows from 8 to 10 a.m. and p.m. Dial in channel 1098 for Buzz TV on your Comcast Xfinity box and discover what the buzz is all about.
Hi, I'm Vicki Soule, CEO of Treasure Coast Community Health. Treasure Coast Community Health has been serving Indian River County for 25 years. How did we get here? It took a commitment to you to provide you with the most affordable, high-quality, integrated network of healthcare available anywhere. It took board-certified doctors and dentists and a dedicated staff to ensure that you receive the best possible care. It took more locations to meet the need, and now TCCH has 7 locations, with the latest one conveniently located down the street from Cleveland Clinic Indian River Hospital. Our services are available to everyone, whether insured or not. And at TCCH, no one gets turned away due to an inability to pay. We rely on donations from generous benefactors to continue our much-needed work. We accept Medicare, Medicaid, and almost all insurances. Call us at 772-257-8224 or visit us at tcchinc.org.
Polo Grill is open with an exciting new menu featuring amazing steaks from Revere Ranch. Yes, Polo Grill is open and is the prime location for great steaks, fresh seafood, outdoor dining under a covered veranda, and an eclectic wine selection. Polo Grill remains committed to service quality and social distancing, including tables 6 feet apart under the comfortable veranda. Located on Ocean Drive, 231-4090, pgvero.com. Touchless curbside pickup now available. Open daily at 4 p.m.
And welcome back to Community Conversations. If you're just joining us, you've joined Vicki Soule and Colleen Symanski. Colleen is here with us today. I don't think the two of us have shut up since we walked in the door of the studio. So we're going to try to let you catch up on some of the things that we talked about during the station break here. But we've been talking about how COVID has had an effect on our own body, our factory, as it were, aside from the fear factor of the pulmonary diseases. We've been talking about, as Colleen said, our little factory and our little pantry and the effect of cholesterol. Sorry.
No, you're right, because
Cholesterol, too.
comes from cholesterol.
Okay.
That's
I got the C's right. So there are some mechanisms to help us with the COVID-15, and more importantly, the reasons behind those, the fight or flight, elevated cholesterol that is altering the way our bodies metabolize sugar and keep us in this high stress phase all the time. It's not just what's in our head, it's what's coming from our body.
Absolutely. You're so right, Vicki. And it's the pantry or the pharmacy, because these hormones act like many
medicines would.
Medicines, they're messengers. They tell our bodies what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Serotonin helps us go to sleep. Well, when we're stressed, all of those other hormones feel-good hormones get subdued, so cortisol and epinephrine can do their job.
So it's not just the stress of the unknown and COVID and worry about friends and family that's keeping us up at night. That's what I hear you saying.
Absolutely.
Although that's a huge factor in it.
No, it's a huge factor. Research shows or tells us that if you don't sleep well, if you're a really poor sleeper, it is almost impossible for many people to lose weight.
Makes sense when you put in the context of what our body's doing.
So with all this information that's bombarding us, because this is a pandemic, it's unusual. There was no preparation for it.
And as you said earlier, we keep changing the facts, the recourse, the things we should and shouldn't do.
Right. And we're not giving our prefrontal cortex, that's that logical thinking part of our brain. It needs a rest.
Is that why my kids keep saying they have a headache?
Yes.
Literally.
Probably. Because the prefrontal cortex gets exhausted. We have to give it a break. So that all ties in with stress. I was reading an article before I came in that was saying that even 10 minutes of walking outside, we need to get outside. I have talked with people who won't even let their children in their backyards. Fearful.
Wow.
So, get outside. Take that 5-minute walk.
Even if it is under an umbrella, right?
Even if it is, yes, as long as no lightning.
That's right.
Or drizzle, just get out there. Saw somebody running the other day in the pouring rain, and I'm like, you go, girl. I was walking, but I had my umbrella. So I think laughing.
Yeah.
Laughing reduces cortisol.
And it's a well-known fact, but at least among the scientific community, and certainly those of us that try to figure a way to add pleasure to people's day. But it's difficult sometimes to find something to laugh at. So you have to make an effort to go onto a joke page, or we have someone in our Rotary Club who has the worst jokes in the world, but we always laugh, even if they aren't funny, because we want him to feel good about what he's sharing with us as well. And so sometimes, as I tell my kids, even if you don't feel like smiling, it does release that internal mechanism of making you feel better, even if it's for a short while.
Right, because
fake it.
Right, because now we're increasing our endorphins. And that's the other thing. Laughing and doing something fun is much healthier than reaching for that Dove bar in the refrigerator.
Yes.
Because food is also comforting and makes us go, love that piece of dark chocolate.
Or that bowl of ice cream at 10 o'clock at night, because I was hungry anyways.
We think we're hungry.
Okay, there's the difference.
So drink water. I mean, if you don't like plain water, there's all kinds of seltzers waters today.
That's right. Tea, coffee. I mean, there's all kinds
mineral
of
waters and right? What else?
Exactly. Although, just a simple bottle of water and a couple of swallows, as you say, suddenly that's kind of ease that I'm hungry or I need the equivalent of a warm hug. Because I think that's the other thing. As you mentioned, the fear factor is pretty high. And without the social contact of families giving hugs and, even handshakes to business associates, that's taking a toll on us. We have to find other ways to give ourselves hugs.
Right. Absolutely. And this is a good time to make time for better self-care.
Which is where we get back to sleeping well. So what do you do if, you go to bed and you're tossing and turning?
Get up. But the other thing
But not to the refrigerator.
Not to the refrigerator. There's the Sleep Foundation has wonderful resources.
Okay.
But you want to start creating the prep time for sleep. We get up in the morning, and we used to get up in the morning for most of us, and we prepare for the day and for going to work. We don't quite prepare for sleep.
That's true.
So sleep means we need to start shutting down the devices. By 8 o'clock, they should be off. No watching TV. I know. Engaging with, engaging.
Yeah.
Well,
and that is something that, again, as we have physically distanced, I think we are also sort of emotionally distancing. I watch some of my employees that used to talk over lunch, and they've got their devices.
Right.
It's sort of like, again, their own little control spot. Okay, I want to see what's going on in the world.
Right. And too much of that's overload, so shut that down.
Read a good book.
Dim the lights.
Oh, we're starting to sound so old-fashioned, aren't we?
Yeah, but those are things that prepare us for sleep and help help promote serotonin, what's the hormone that helps us with sleep? Melatonin.
Yeah.
A cool shower, not a hot shower, no vigorous physical act. So writing, keeping a journal, if thoughts keep you up, have a little book, write it down so that you can kind of clear your head, meditate.
Perfect. Ooh, meditation. Now, there's something you don't hear about very often. But for some, they call that prayer.
Right.
So
absolutely, you're right.
So those are the things that we're looking, regardless of what your norm is relative to your sugar or your cholesterol or even your overall weight. It's really about being a healthier person by looking at what are your stumbling blocks right now and how can you help control them. So what other tips and tricks do you have up your sleeve for our last 2 minutes?
Well, certainly gentle exercise. Moving is essential. I had several of them. Let me see.
Well, I know that oftentimes we will sit down to Zoom meetings, and people are saying, I'm so tired of Zoom meetings. And I say, but look at all the transportation time. We were still sitting in the car, that this is eliminated for us. But it's those folks who sit there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and quite frankly, your butt can get sore.
Right.
So we need to find a way to get up and do something.
Stand up during those Zoom meetings, do chair exercises, watch our posture. Our posture has gotten much worse.
Because we're sitting all the time.
Which is causing eye strain, neck strain. So, give your eyes, look away from that computer.
Mm-hmm.
Look at something 20 feet away, 20 seconds, rest.
When you're not on a Zoom call, look for that little button that shows how to turn off the camera so people won't see you acting silly.
Yes.
Stretching and exercising and doing all the other stuff, standing up during the call.
Deep breathe. When we're stressed, we all walk around going, well, I can't demonstrate it because I want to be correct. But research shows us that 4 deep breaths, count to 4, pause, exhale through the nose, count from 4 to 1 backwards. 4 of them reduces cortisol. It's being mindful. So I hope, Vicki, that the new norm, and that's the word that you hear going around.
Right.
I hope that we create it as a society where we're taking better care of ourselves and one another. And
teaching these things to our children.
And teaching them to our children.
Because they're, as you started out saying at the very beginning, they're the ones that, although they are more resilient than most adults, they're still struggling a lot. They just don't verbalize it or act it out in the same ways as the adults do. So thank you so much for helping us with this. I really appreciate it. I think people thought, certified diabetic educator, she's going to talk about food. Right. And we haven't, and I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you all for being with us. Till next week.